Hey, everybody, Matt Michaels here, along with Sin City Steve. And again, it is the Vegas Bad Boys of podcasting. And, there's a voice missing today, and that'd be DJ Impact. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Me neither.
All right, good. So we're in the same boat. Um, it's every once in a while, we have to do certain things, and DJ Impact this week. He had something going on, which it was very interesting. We received this picture here. I don't know if you guys are watching here. You could see there's some rocks, and yep, DJ Impact was at the Playboy Mansion. So that's why he dished out on us. But we hope he's having a good time. We hope his wife knows as well.
Let's
And
hope.
let's hope. And with that note, we're going to get into a little wrestling talk, and we're going to start right in with the WWE. And let's go into Raw. The show started off with a very solid match between Becky and Bianca. What I thought was done very well was the fact that they were able to take Bianca and keep her strong with having Becky use to pull off the turnbuckle cheat win. This way you don't downgrade her, and nothing looks bad on Becky or looks bad on Bianca. Becky looks amazing. It looks as much his heel as you can look. And then she wants a new challenger later in the show. And to our joy, I guess, is Liv Morgan, because Liv Morgan, Steve, is that right? Should it be?
I mean, okay, I don't have a problem with seeing Liv Morgan on my TV.
No, not at all.
Bottom line, I think that it's really good that they're starting to allow other people to shine and giving the spotlight to more than just the four horsewomen. So yeah, I'm all for having a rotation of people in there. And quite frankly, at this point, there might as well just be auditioning them for spots, and that's how it's going to be. So I'm cool with it.
Or as we'll talk about in 3 counts, so they basically will be auditioning them to see who gets released next.
Exactly, one or the other.
So we'll see where that goes with Liv. Very interesting to go with her, finally give her an opportunity. It looked like when they let Ruby go, they were going to put a little more shine on Liv, and then she got pushed down again. And she kind of came up a little bit with this Carmella thing, but then Carmella was going over on her. So we'll see what happens. It would be surprising if she does get a victory over Becky, not a championship victory, but an actual victory in some sense. So let's see what happens. Damien Priest, man. Again, solid worker. He worked with T-Bar, which wasn't he released? I thought he was. I swear to God. Really? No?
No.
So you think they're saving it for the week before Christmas?
Of course. But the thing is, I mean, realistically, at this point, you might as well just have him go by his NXT name of Donovan Dijakovic. I definitely noticed that they were actually giving him more of the same offense that he displayed when he got over to that NXT audience. And I'm all in favor of that. Unfortunately, it's, I feel like as if he got, people probably got a bad representation of what this guy was about, because the retribution angle was just shit ass terrible. And I hope that they're going to find a way for him to branch away from that, drop the gimmick altogether at some point, and get over with this audience. At least give him a shot.
Yeah. Right now he's been a glorified jobber or worker at least. What's interesting is, hey, if you don't go back to let's say that name, just call him Thomas Barr or Tom Barr or something like that, right? T Bar. I mean, just get away from me. Yeah, something. But there have been rumblings that is kind of what they're moving towards doing something else with him, that he's coming out of this character. So hopefully we'll see something different, but that has definitely been a very interesting evolution. Again, another guy who it looks like they take a step forward with and then they take him back. And it's, there's a weird balance with people getting released of who's around and who's getting released. So and again, we'll focus more on that on 3 Count. Hey, if you guys are listening or tuning in right now on Facebook Live, or we usually have DJ Impact, who's really good at pointing out the interaction with you guys. I am horrible. I am an old man. I do not look at stuff while that's going on, because the ADD and being an old man, it just kind of gets kind of fucked up there. But Steve will be looking at stuff, so if you find something, he'll shout you guys out. All right. So Damien Priest, again, he looks great. He's honestly, for him being a little more advanced in terms of his age as compared to some of the younger guys, and finally getting this breakthrough at a point where he's already matured into the position where he can handle everything that's being given to him. It looks like this is one of the guys who, particularly because he speaks Spanish, he could be a breakout, another one of those guys that within 3 years is working in Hollywood instead of wrestling. So I hope that's where he's headed. I hope that, because he has such a great personality and great presence. So I hope that's what we see in the future. But in the current, his new challenger comes out, and it's fucking Apollo Crews. What the fuck? So we trade. We have a draft.
Your boy returns.
Well, if you're going to fucking have a draft, and yes, we're seeing a different mix. We haven't seen Priest versus Crews. Fine, I'll agree to that. We haven't seen it. But Crews was going after the fucking US belt, and here he is now just coming in after the IC belt. Let's put him right in that program because he deserves that kind of attention. What the fuck? I don't know. What are you thinking on Crews? And is this something that is even? I
mean, he's ultimately just stuck at the mid card level. I think that one thing is painfully obvious. They have these guys sort of pre-slotted in at where they see them. And no matter the show that they're on, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, they're going to have those people slotted in the exact same position, seemingly, regardless of which show that they're on. Speaking of the chat, by the way, I do have to point this out to you. Chris says, Matt Michaels, the podcast's version of Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, except he wants all of us to get off his chat lawn.
Yeah, get off my chat. And by the way, too, Steve, sometimes I do with you feel like I'm talking to an empty chair. So there we go.
Well, there's that. Thanks.
Oh man, Chris, you're gonna throw out the Clint Eastwood stuff. I'm gonna go after your boy, Sin City Steve. Then, all right. What's fascinating to me is that he's with Apollo Crews is with Commander Aziz. What the fuck haven't they put them together as a tag team for, and put them together and have them face Omos and Styles?
Right? Why not? I mean, it makes too much sense. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, if nothing else, like, you would think that they would give them some sort of a run as a team. Yeah. They love to take two people and, mash them together and, create these teams complete with merging theme musics, but whatever. Yet you have these guys that are aligned and you refuse to put them as a tag team. It makes no sense.
And almost in Aziz's case, you refuse to basically have him in the ring at all, for the most part.
Right. I don't get that. Like, the only thing that I can figure is that if you're going to go down that route, I know that when Aziz when Omos, kind of rose to prominence, they found Braun Strowman to be expendable. And obviously we'll talk about, releases and things like that in 3 count. That's the only thing that I can figure is if you are hyping up Omos's height and, saying that he's like the biggest, baddest dude on the block, if you put him in there across the ring from Aziz, who is also very tall and, has a different build, but a similar stature, I don't know if that dilutes things and, makes the waters a little bit muddier.
Yeah. The only reason I find logic in it is the sense that AJ Styles and Omos, they could be faces right now. There's no doubt.
Dude, the crowd want to cheer them.
Right. So, and if you need anything to go heelish on, why not throw in whiny Apollo Crews and the guy who doesn't do anything that's with him? There you go.
Why not? I mean, it's almost like as if Crews has almost level of go away heat. I don't think that he's quite there yet, but he's, everything that I've read online and, the feedback that he gets just comes across as not heel heat, but go home heat. And so I think that, yeah, it would make sense of that, but you definitely do want to kind of, I almost feel like as if AJ and Omos would almost kind of lesser their stock a little bit, bring them down, to be in a feud with Aziz and Cruz. I don't know.
The problem with bringing the stock down, in a sense, though, is the stock isn't anywhere high, because all you have is Riddle and Orton. Who else in your tag team division is even coming close to, being on that level of those 2 teams? And so that's why I say, well, why don't you throw them into the mix? Or for fuck's sake, have them go as a team against Orton and Riddle. Give them something fresh to do. Another huge monster to fight and stuff. Because really what's going to end up happening is Omos and Styles, when they break them apart, who the fuck does Omos go against? We have a Great Khali situation at that point where, there's not that many people that he can realistically go against that you could figure that have a chance in beating him, other than, getting disqualified, and that kind of shit, taking him out through the knees or something like that. It just, when you're stuck with these big guys, you become limited in the things you can do. Even Andre the Giant was not a guy who wrestled every single fucking week. And I think that's a point that we all kind of forget. It's like these guys look great. It's cool to see them, especially live. But arguably, Big Show is the only one who has been able to transfer in his career to a point where he's the biggest guy in the locker room, but you still see him as a guy who Rey Mysterio could potentially go against. And I don't see that necessarily in Omos right now. I know they're trying a little bit to get him into that point, but we'll see what happens with that. But we get into a little thing that I think is getting a little interesting with Big E, KO, and Seth. I like this mix, especially because you've got a chance to put KO in that gray area, which I think that they kind of are benefited by having a more heel Kevin Owens. And really, honestly, I would love to see Seth and KO actually form an alliance or something. I think that would be a fascinating stable, put those 2 together, maybe bring in a third party. And now you've got, the mega maniacs or something like that, these people who are just these egos, and just have them, run roughshod as heels. And I've thought for a while that I know that they can't do it with New Day per se, because of the fact that it's a John Cena like tendency because of so much popularity with kids and Make-A-Wish and that kind of stuff. But why can't we see any one of these motherfuckers go heel? Please. You know,
it doesn't make any sense. If nothing else, give, they, for the longest time, they've had no problem utilizing shades of gray with these characters and, having not any absolute baby faces, absolute heels, but except when it comes to New Day members, they are unequivocally baby faces, and they don't have, as a result, they tend to not have any depth of character. So I think that's a great point that you bring up. And I do have to say one thing though. I don't know if I want to see Seth and KO as a team for a long-term kind of a thing.
Well, don't worry, because his contract's, he's out of there in fucking 3 months anyway. So
did you like the little nod to his contract term in the promo?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was kind of a little on the nose, but yeah, definitely out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you wouldn't do it as a long-term thing, but I think that, again, when you have this draft, and if all you're going to do is basically take people and just take them from one show, put them on the other show, and have them doing the same thing, well, then what the fuck's the point of this draft, right? So, just spice it up a little. Now, I think things can get interesting because if you have them in a triple threat at some point, then maybe you start seeing, different shades of characters that we haven't seen yet. And I think that also Seth can be the ignition to it, right? Seth could be the one who basically is egging on KO that, Big E is basically making KO look like a fool. He's making him look like a clown, get under, KO's skin. And, right when he's about to take out Seth, he accidentally punches out Big E, or vice versa. And, you have that interaction. So they might be able to do some great stuff. But speaking of throwing punches, all right. Now, in most cases, when there is a person outside the ring and they do something like, I don't know, clothesline someone, hit them with a chair, do something to one of the competitors in the ring, usually nowadays referees don't do anything, right? Yet, if Dominic slaps a man, the bell automatically rings, because slapping someone is definitely grounds for disqualification.
Obviously. Continuity. Ta-da.
Really, and this is what gets me. Rey Mysterio, retire, please. Just go away,
dude. And I think that ultimately we were championing a heel turn by Dominic, and it seemed like as if he was going to be doing that, and then out of nowhere we're just kind of putting that on the back burner after teasing it. I mean, it's really kind of frustrating because, again, as I had mentioned with the New Day, it's almost like as if he can't go heel, and if he did, then it would give him some depth of character and it would help him to actually, develop a bit of a character arc. But as of right now, it's just Ray's fucking kid.
Well, we might
RFK.
Yeah, RFK. There we go. Right, Ray's fucking kid. But speaking about Seth, we might be able to see, if they're smart, this might be your alliance, and have Seth mentor him, because that leads us to the announcement of the Raw Survivor Series team. I think this is where the heel turn happens. You got Ray and Dominic on that team. You've got KO and Seth on that team. And then you've got, of course, Finn Balor, who makes total perfect sense to be on this team because, he's involved in something. I guess he's supposed to be involved still in that title picture, maybe. I don't know. He was overseas apparently on this tour, so he wasn't on Raw this week. That's one of the reasons they also did a internet announcement instead of actually announcing shit on the show. So that is your team for Team Raw. What are your thoughts on the Raw team as it stands?
Is it me, or were all 5 of those guys just this past week or before pre-draft on SmackDown?
Yeah, right.
So tell me how much sense it makes to have 5 guys that had just been on the other brand now wrestling and carrying the banner of a show that they just arrived to. It makes absolutely no sense. And it defies any and all logic. Why would they have any brand loyalty, quote unquote, to Raw when they were just on SmackDown right before the draft? It's baffling.
Not only that, but in combination of the 10 men, 8 of them were SmackDown just 3 weeks ago, right? So it really is kind of just a SmackDown elimination match.
And ultimately, we all know how it's going to end up, and it's not going to be any of those SmackDown people as the sole survivor.
No, it's going to be Jeff Hardy, right?
No,
it's going to be Jeff Hardy. Come on. It will be.
We all know how much Jeff has survived, so I mean, it only makes sense.
Yeah. And speaking of survival, the SmackDown team, man. Okay, so the Raw team, like I said, we could find 2, and if you add Finn into that title picture, 3 guys going in that title picture, Ray and Dominic, who obviously are going to have some kind of split here. SmackDown team. The popular singing group from the 1960s, Sammy, Happy, Hardy, Drew, and the King. Jesus Christ. Talk about throwing a fucking spitball of shit at a wall. Okay, Sammy, incredible. Sammy deserves to be on the team. If anything, Sammy should be the leader of a team, and that's how they should have put it together. Sammy should have been recruiting people to be on his team because everyone else is out to get him. He has to set things right. There's a conspiracy that Raw is out to undermine SmackDown or something like that. Go with that shit. But you have him on the team, and then you have to throw in Happy Corbin because I guess I don't know, man. You talk about a character that you took something golden with just down and out Corbin, all of a sudden hitting the lottery, and then making him Happy Corbin, and
people
then
love it though. I mean, keep in mind, he's not here to defend himself, but DJ Impact absolutely fucking loves Happy Corbin. He talks about him nonstop, and so does the internet. It blows my mind. I don't know why people are into this gimmick, but hey, more power to him. I guess that it's just not for me.
I actually, what spoiled me on the character is the addition of his Rick Boogs, because we already had fucking Rick Boogs, and now we got a guy who happens to look almost exactly like Rick Boogs, and I don't know his fucking name to save my life. I'm being honest. I cannot tell you what the dude's name is. All I know
Madcap
is
Moss.
Okay, Madcap. I should be able to remember that, I guess. Moss, I don't know if I'm going to remember. It's just so ridiculous that he comes into the picture, and now it's like a bad 1920s comedy act. It's just not going anywhere, or at least anywhere of significance, it looks like. And so that's why I'm thinking, you got Sammy and got Happy, which again looks like your wheels are turning, and 2 guys who are just stale. Then you throw in fucking Jeff Hardy. I don't know, man. I don't know. What the hell? I mean, the only person who has it worse in the Hardy family is Matt Hardy and what they've been giving him in AEW.
Facts.
Both these guys. So here's a Hall of Fame brother tag team, legit brothers. And in both companies that they're in right now, no one can seem to do anything with either of them, which is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. So he's, I don't know, man. The elder statesman, I don't know what the fuck puts him in, other than he gets in because he has one of the most awkwardly fucked up, stupid backstage segments in the history of Jeff Hardy's career. All right. He's talking to Aew. Then it's all about the interviewer was trying to get some kind of interview question with him right after Aew leaves. The interviewer asks something. Jeff says, hold on a second, and goes over to Aew, who apparently was gone, right? You'd figure if you leave an interview segment, they're gone. They went to do something else. But he goes to approach her because she stopped and being talked to by Sami Zayn. And we have to talk about Aaliyah's like wonderfully cut trunks, might I say. That looked wonderful. I think that's the first time I ever looked at Aew and went, oh, okay, all right, understand it.
Completely.
But that segment made no sense outside of seeing her in that.
It's crazy, man. I saw the segment and I was just left thinking, what the fuck was the actual purpose of this? Because it had absolutely no redeeming value. If they were trying to get Aew over in this segment, then okay, I guess. She added nothing to this segment whatsoever, except for the fact that she was being talked to by Sami Zayn.
And then Jeff Hardy is going to defend her. And wasn't something said that really made it very uncomfortable because of the fact that Jeff is a married man, but there was an allusion, we always refer to the legendary Sunny Days comment that Sean made. So now are we starting to just fabricate rumors to make shit up, or what? I don't understand it. I'd say the biggest thing I got out of this segment was I flipped over to ESPN to look for Monday Night Football. And then I realized, oh, it wasn't Raw. It was fucking SmackDown.
You're burning up time on broadcast network Fox for this shit.
On Fox. So we do also know that we got Drew McIntyre, who will be part of the team as well. Now, Drew McIntyre, I do have to say, he had a match with Ricochet. For as big as Drew is, it was a nice showing of the mesh between him and Ricochet. And holy fuck, that Claymore coming right. I mean, you could see in the slow-mo replay, you could see Ricochet. I mean, he is like just focused, laser focused on the spot, to make sure that he is hitting that flip on perfect timing, because if not, I mean, we could see something possibly go really wrong, because, if he gets his head fucking kicked back, that neck, gets snapped. But he, give it to Drew, man. He fucking totally, he nailed it just perfectly, right close to the shoulder. It looked beautiful in regular timing. And, as much as I think Drew is just so stale right now, this whole sword and the skirt and, or kilt, whatever the fuck it is.
The sword and the skirt.
The skirt and this. Yeah. That was a great porno.
And that will also be a good book about Drew McIntyre's career.
Yeah, pretty much. Uh, yeah. So, at least there was something that was a little different in that match. You're talking about the idea of guys coming over from one brand to the other. Got to see those two. That was all right. Before I get into the last person on the team, though, I have to say, holy shit. For the love of God and everything sacred, please get fucking Ali out of the WWE. Fire him. He should have been the first name on the fucking. Oh God, no, because obviously they do not know what the fuck to do with him. We get a segment backstage. Well, first of all, he's once again. He is watching Ricochet compete. We have seen him watching Ricochet compete for the better end of almost 2 years now. They were fucking tagging together, which apparently neither of them remembered on Friday night. We have something that then just goes back to fucking the Retribution, in which Ali is leading them, and their whole thing was to beat the fuck out of Ricochet for months on end to try to get him to join. And now this motherfucker is trying to recruit Ricochet once again. You need to fire this motherfucker. Kevin Cross and Keith Lee and Oney Larkin, for God's sakes, are not working for the company anymore. But that motherfucker is. Get rid of him. Fire him. In fact, you know what? Don't even fire him right before Christmas. Fire him on Christmas Day.
Oh, come on.
I don't care. At this point,
look at you being a heel to the end, bro.
No, and in that case, I am being a face, because I think there would be many of people who would be applauding me and parading me down the street that this asshole was finally gotten rid of for good. And then he could go over to AEW and basically go find one of the AEW guys to stalk for 2 years in storylines that never get fucking intertwined, never get mentioned again, when all you do is have them do the same fucking thing for 2 years. God damn. I thought
QT Marshall.
Yeah, well, who ruins whose career first?
Right.
Yeah. I just think I found the you hit on. This is Ring of Honor's new roster. Here we go. Ali, QT Marshall, start it up.
Oh fuck. No, I think that the thing with Ali is, yeah, no matter what they try to do with him. I mean, they tried to have the pairing with Mansoor, and that went over like a fart in church. It didn't go over at all. Like, no one gave a damn about them. And realistically, you have to figure what they need to do. What do they need to do in order to get people to buy in on Ali? And I think that the guy is he's great in the ring. His in-ring work is great, but the character work, the character development, the situations that they're putting him in, I do find myself not calling for him to be fired, but I do find myself wondering what the fuck is the point of any of this shit that they have him doing. And you know, we did mention Drew McIntyre being a part of the a part of this Survivor Series team. That's who I was mentioning. Obviously, he will end up being your sole survivor, and that'll end up being your next challenger for Roman Reigns as a result. But
most likely, I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, but the thing is with Ricochet is, I think that gentleman right there will be a victim of the next budget cut. I don't see them hanging on to him for any reason. As much as I would love to have him a part of AEW, they really aren't doing anything with him. They haven't done anything with him for the entire time that they've had him. And it's at this point, they've wasted him for several years, realistically.
So I think that I think he doesn't get released because of the AEW factor. I think they know that he has enough talent to keep him under contract. And that's why I say, get rid of Ali, because at least Ricochet, they haven't totally fucking ruined him by having him, commit to certain things. Ali got fucking tarnished the minute they put him with Retribution. And when that didn't pay off, why is this guy still around? Almost everyone else, is in a situation where this is your next round of firings right there. T-Bar, Mace, and fucking Ali. I don't think they'll let Ricochet go, because I think that they know that if he goes somewhere else, and maybe not even AEW, fucking Impact, or even New Japan, for Christ's sake, that he becomes an elevated, component to one of those shows. So yeah, I just can't figure out any of that. But I'm glad you brought up the fart in church aspect of Mansoor and him. So once you fart in the church, then the best thing to do is to capture some of that fart and put it right under Cesaro's nose.
Jesus.
Because what the fuck was that? I mean, if you want to make Cesaro look like he's a fucking awful wrestler, which he is not, he should be on that Survivor Series team, and maybe he should be winning it and going against Reigns instead of fucking Drew McIntyre. Cesaro, personality, Drew McIntyre, big sword and a skirt. That really just, it really bothered me. It bothered me more than Los Lotharios as a tag team name for those two guys who, FTR is going to be wrestling those guys by next April or June. So to be honest, it's like Garza and they're listen, when they first came out, when the music hit, and I kind of forgot that they're together in a team on SmackDown, I thought Epico and Primo were back. So that's about how much you get out of those guys. But and then making Cesaro a part of this, Jesus, it's a travesty. And it's another guy. They know they can't let him go. They let him go, he's getting a major fucking push on another show, whatever it might be.
Without a doubt.
Impact Wrestling signs that guy, and they all of a sudden go, Moose and Cesaro. Jeez,
sign me the fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, final guy on the SmackDown team is the King himself, and I think that what they did with this idea of the kneel match, make the loser kneel, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great concept. It's never been done with the King of the Ring winner, a King character. Even the closest we had is the kiss my foot thing with Lawler. So that was a great idea, great graphics, wonderful way of having the Usos keep the heat on them by not giving in, and then having a surprise, Roman Reigns, Usos just beat down of those guys, which was wonderful to see. It really was. It was just so nice. It just made me giddy.
I'm sure it fucking did, man.
Oh, it was just so nice. The only thing that would have been better if they were really just throwing the punches in there. But
come on.
I'm just saying. Like, don't you think Roman should just legitimately land one super punch on someone? And should it not be Kofi? Just for the fuck of it. Just for the fuck of it.
Come on, man.
No, it made sense. I think that you put those five guys together right now is a good idea in terms of your value get, in terms of the capability of both of those two factions being able to talk. Yeah. And that sets up the interest. I think that's one of the things they lose a lot of times is that you have guys who can talk, and then you kind of take that ability away, and then you don't go anywhere with storylines. So at least you're getting something here. We'll see what happens in terms of, Kofi's right now not, a part of that team, which is surprising. I thought you would have him on the Survivor Series team, maybe instead of, someone like, I don't know, Jeff Hardy. Make more sense, right? But all of a sudden, SmackDown got Raw-itis, and now the shows have flipped in terms of the decency and the logic.
That was the thing that really kind of stood out to me, is that this episode of SmackDown really felt like Raw, and this past episode of Raw really felt like SmackDown. And it really, I don't want to say it shouldn't be that way, but it's baffling that, after the draft, that, SmackDown stock has fallen so dramatically, in my view, and Raw's stock has gone up the way that it has. Is the 3 hours of Raw were more easily digested this week by me than the 2 hours of SmackDown. And that I can't tell you the last time that happened.
Yeah. And ironically enough, you bring me to one of the two lines of the week, and that was Roman Reigns saying, while he's complaining about how bad SmackDown was without him, he says it was almost as bad as Raw. On the week that SmackDown was almost as bad as Raw. Ironically enough, the second line that was brilliant was Pat McAfee talking when Hit Row was coming out. This is going to be fabulous. Brilliant. Yeah. Smart. And that guy
McAfee's gold.
Yeah. And that guy cannot get in trouble. That's the brilliance of it. No one backstage is going to say, Pat, you shouldn't have said that. There you go. All
exactly.
Right, NXT. Let's get to NXT really quick. Is it Zion Quinn, right? Is that how he's pronouncing it?
Yeah.
So singing Sexy Boy, great idea for a bad singer to do that, to show up a bad, a quote unquote bad performance. But my question is, do you think it was a rip on Sean that he didn't know about it, that was going to be the song played? Or because Sean's in charge, do you think his ego decided you're going to sing my song?
I definitely think it was the latter. I'm sure that Sean had some input with that, without a doubt. That was the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, well, we know Sean's running this shit now anyway. So yeah, it makes sense.
And I'll buy my stock in Quinn right now. I like him. I think he's really good. I'm glad that they had him work with Robert Stone on this, squash, because of the fact that he is really good at doing that kind of work. I mean, he really is a good worker in that sense. So, we're going to see how it builds up for Quinn. Duke's Poker Room, you take a shitty thing in Duke's Poker Room, and then you have Cameron Grimes once again proving that not only can he make money off the the investments and the shit he did to make his actual money during the pandemic, but he made this Duke's Poker Room thing pay off. That was great. Grimes is just stay there, stay in this character, do not do anything. If they try to call you up to one of the rosters, get locked in the fucking NXT locker room.
Yep.
Do not leave. Just stay with it. Do not do anything with Grimes. On the flip side of that, I looked at some of the again, we'll talk about the cuts coming out, coming up here on 3 Count. But I just look at the cuts and go, why is Lash Legend? Why does this woman have a job? This whole whole interview thing.
Well, I can easily tell you, because she's a crossover sports athlete. So that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to take people that have competed professionally in other sports and other athletics, and all of a sudden now shoehorn them into being professional wrestlers, or excuse me, sports entertainers.
Okay, so and you know what? That'd be great if she had any kind of that sports aspect. Put her in the ring. I don't care. You know, let's see if she's any good. She is not good at doing a talk show. She's also not good when you're putting her together with Tony D'Angelo, who now is just one stereotype, who is, you know, like, how long is this thing going to last? You know, you did a couple. The reason the hype up promos were good is because that's all we saw. It was fucking a minute and a half, and that was it. I was like, all right, that's cool. And, you know, Chicago, you know, mobster, Italian guy. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh, now he's sitting down with talk show hosts who can't do anything fucking entertaining. Oh, this is getting bad. And then the day is saved by one brilliant portrayal, and that is by Mr. Ryan Katz, as I believe it was Michael, the producer of last year's show, in a cast or arm sling, just wonderfully playing up the fact that he was brutally taken care of on the the lowdown by Mr. D'Angelo. Ryan Katz saved that fucking thing. You know, that it's sad when a producer who has talent like Ryan does, when you take something that you're trying to sell, and the best thing about it is the producer that you put in just essentially as a visual prop being the best thing about it. So
the thing that really stood out to me and has stood out to me is just, so realistically, I view Tony D'Angelo as being Razor Ramon circa 2021. If they were going to bring Razor Ramon into this era of WWE branded programming, it would be very, very similar to what they did and what they have done with Tony D'Angelo. Those two have a very similar sort of, very similar sort of vignette pattern from when they brought up Ramon.
No, Steve, I'm sorry. Yeah, just got a call. It's Big Vito. He wants his fucking gimmick back.
Pretty much.
I get what you're saying, but you know what? The Italian gimmick has already been done to the point of Big Vito, Little Guido, guys who were more fucking, you know, entertaining, more. It just is. It's aggravating because what did you do with Razor when you brought him in? On your point, and that is this: Razor, you had hype of promos, but then all you did was put him in the fucking ring.
Right. Bingo.
And we got to see, you know, D'Angelo once now in the last 4 weeks in the ring, and I can't tell if I want to see more of him because I don't know if he's good or if he's green or what he is. So
unfortunately, I think that may have something to do with the fact that they've really tried to overhaul the roster in absolutely no time flat, and they've introduced so many new characters in just the last few weeks that unfortunately, yeah, I think that we're starting to see these kinds of things where you're getting these vignettes and things of that nature, but you're not seeing these guys in the ring. And lest we forget, that is what this really is supposed to be about, is it realistically in-ring competition. Unless that's, you know, not what they're going for, of course.
Well, I think in some ways, and NXT, you know, they had to live up to AEW. So basically they decided, oh, well, let's just do things that don't make sense now, and then we'll get the same ratings. So really quick, Trick in the main event, that shoe shot on Loomis looked fucking wonderful. It was a great way to, hey, let's just, you know, let's not tarnish Johnny, because we don't want to make him mad because his contract's coming up. So how do we get to resign him? Let's at least not have him take the pinfall. And you know, it looked like a brutal shoe shot, which is surprising. And shout out Solo Sikoa, our boy Stefa, looking strong. Hey, man,
Definitely.
give the man a bunch of squash matches, and that's it. Do not let him hook up with someone who is one of your main talent yet at all. Give him fucking 2 months of a push like this. Make him a brutal beast. I don't know how they're going to handle it if they bring him up to the main roster as Solo. This is the most baffling thing about this because, okay, obviously the fans know that he's an Uso. When you look at him, that's the one thing that is like I just can't understand why they went with the kayfabe name, because he looks so much like The Rock and his brothers and Roman and the family. And it's like, unless they do bring him up and have him play against the family, which could be a possibility, it's just like you're going to build up this. You're going to have to keep him in NXT for a couple of years then. And really, honestly, to be honest, what you have right now is you have Samoa Joe 15 years ago.
That's an amazing point. I didn't even think about that, but spot on.
Yeah, especially too when I saw the hair dye when he went blonde. They did that at UPW with Joe, and we knew he was going heel that week at the show when he walked into training, and he's got a haircut and it's bleach blonde. And it's like, oh shit, they're making you a heel, and he's like, yeah. And what I see in Safa and have seen in Safa has been this idea of using him in that manner that Joe was used all those years ago when he first started getting his shots in ROH, and then when he came into TNA, especially that before Angle came in and ruined the whole fucking thing. That's the thing. I see him as a dominant motherfucker. He's doing the no shoes. This is the kind of guy you fucking want. This is the guy that once Joe gets off the fucking shelf, he either mentors Sikoa or he fucking tries to show that he's still the big dog, and Safa beats the fuck out of Joe, ends his career essentially, right? So we'll see where it goes, but please, for the love of God, don't touch this right now. Let it be. And shout out also, I have to say, I like Steiner's Kid a lot.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And
even if he wasn't Steiner's kid,
yeah,
even if he wasn't Steiner's kid, I think that if they don't strap the rocket to his back, which that was what I was afraid of. And if they temper it just a little bit and drag it out for just a tiny bit, I think that he will be able to hold that main championship and be the face of NXT 2.0 without question.
So I'm going to go a step further, and not only the face of 2.0, but in Safa, or I got to start calling him Solo, I guess. In Solo and in what are they calling him? Braun. Yeah, Braun. Come on,
yeah.
What the fuck, guys? Those two are your example of what they're trying to do, and that is those two are two guys who never had, Seth never reached a huge independent following. All right. He was in a very, literally Vegas, pretty much Vegas. All right. Outside of that, you take these guys who don't have these followings, you build them now in your system. Those two are the start of what this is supposed to be. And that is taking this show to make these guys, and these are the future of the WWE. As much as we say, Cross and Keith Lee, these guys were established before they came in. They did other things. They were on other people's shows. They learned a different style of wrestling. These guys are being molded into exactly what they want to see for the future of the company. And this is, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this, but mark my words, this is your John Cena, your Brock Lesnar, your Randy Orton, and your Dave Bautista. We're seeing the start of that.
Wow.
That is what the next phase is going to be for at least two of the next four big guys. So we'll see what's in the future, but that's your WWE week. Boom. It is all yours, my brother, for AEW.
All right, man. So AEW Dynamite, let's jump right in. And we had ourselves a nice little rematch from a couple of years back, right when AEW first started, right when Dynamite first started. Kenny Omega wrestled against a guy named Alan Angels, and he gave him a lot of offense a couple of years ago. And a lot of people on the internet were shocked as to why this unknown guy got so much offense against Kenny Omega. Turns out that match was actually what led to Angels getting a contract with AEW. So we fast forward a bit to this past Wednesday, and Kenny Omega versus Alan Angels one more time. And again, the one thing that I appreciated was the announcers, they did play up and build in this storyline that everybody, no matter who they are in this business, they always have one person, that kind of thorn in their side that they just can't shake, and gives them a hard time that realistically shouldn't give them a hard time. And I think that they told a good story through the commentary. And yes, Kenny Omega picked up the win in 15 minutes, but he did not beat him with the one-winged angel. He attempted to go for the one-winged angel, and Angels slithered out of it, ended up getting caught with a couple of V-triggers, and Omega picked up the win. But I think that it did a good job in elevating Alan Angels to instead of just being some lackey in the Dark Order. He's still some lackey in the Dark Order, but I think that if they play their cards right with this guy, that they can, continue to push him in the singles scene a bit. We'll see if they choose to capitalize on that. The follow-ups on things with AEW, that tends to be one of their not so strong suits, we'll just say. If somebody has a great showing on TV, they might not talk about it from one week to the next. They might not follow up with it. So we'll see where they choose to go from here. But yeah, solid match. I would say that Angels had over half of the offense in this match. And it really came down to Omega picking up the win just because he outwitted him, and the champion kind of came away and pulled away at the end, if you will.
This is one of my problems with the Dark Order, especially now. I think we're at a phase where it needs to kind of dissolve, because I honestly, and I watched the show and I know what you're talking about now because you said Dark Order and that just kind of clicked. Oh, that's right. You went against a Dark Order guy. I had no fucking clue who you were talking about.
Wow.
And that really shows. So if you're trying to develop these guys, I know what you think you're trying to do, but to a fan like you, they're doing it. For a fan like me, I'm losing it. So I think that is totally something that is relevant, because to me, all these guys bleed together, and the only ones I know the name of John Silver, and I know that there is 10, but I can't tell you who the fuck 10 is.
Right. And ultimately, I think that they were close to dissolving the Dark Order, and they teased it, several weeks back. And I was genuinely kind of hoping that they would, because I think that, the guys in that group could be better if they were singles competitors or in the tag division away from that banner. things of that nature. And obviously I understand that, you know, they want to keep them together because of Brody and all that kind of stuff. And I can hear that, but there comes a time when they're going to have to do it. And realistically, you've got to build these guys while they're either in there, or you can just say, fuck it and cut them loose. But you got to make sure that you build them and have the crowd invest in them, have the fans have a reason to give a shit. I think that the one thing that really has kind of stood out is that, you know, through the vignettes and through the promos during the Dark Order's time, you would notice, if you looked closely and if you followed this kind of stuff, and I'm not saying you, Matt, I'm saying you as in the general, you would notice and they did a really good job with tying things together from in terms of long-term storytelling, that Angels is almost feeling like a bit of an outcast in the Dark Order. So, you know, there were skits and segments where, you know, Hangman would, when he was aligned with them, when he would do things and the Dark Order would, you know, when he pulled up with the fucking John Deere tractor looking thing, the lawnmower, and everybody hitched a ride, but who was left off of it? Alan Angels. And it was all sorts of things of that nature. I think that I would like to see Angels break away from the Dark Order, maybe have him be the first person to turn his back on the group, break away, be a complete single star, and then you might start to see more of these guys kind of dissolving, as you mentioned. At least I can hope.
I think it's funny you said that, because I do remember them having that you know, kind of starting the friction. But what's very interesting too, and I didn't think about this until you said it, my problem is him and John Silver have the exact same fucking build, look, and aren't they both bald with the fucking beard? And they're like, what, maybe 5'10" to 6 foot or something like that.
John Silver's about 5'5".
Okay, yeah. So
yeah,
he's the shorter one.
He's like, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, and I think that
it's confusing to the layman's eye who is not, you know, absorbing everything, and that is why you see people having a hard time continuously tuning in.
Yep, and unfortunately, I mean, we used to talk about ratings, obviously, and I was a proponent of talking about ratings. They got to do something, because their ratings are starting to slip on Wednesdays. And, you know, you can cite the World Series, you can cite, you know, the NBA, you can cite whatever you want, but realistically, they need to figure out what is not working and work to correct that, because they are starting to lose viewers. And this past week's episode had, I believe, it was the least number of viewers that they've had in over 4 months, which is quite considerable, especially given the current climate with everything.
Right.
They had started to, you know, they've started to build momentum, all that kind of stuff. And it's not just this week. It's something that's happened over the last couple of weeks. And it's really unfortunate, because, you know, I think that was one of the top draws for me, as a fan to AEW, was that, okay, this is an alternative, to the machine, to WWE.
Right.
And realistically, if they're starting to do things that, you know, the fan base is starting to lose favor with, or they're starting to watch other things in place of Dynamite, that should set off the warning signs for sure. So,
yeah. And I'm trying to see here. They really didn't, and I had some specifics and I just can't find it, but they didn't have the competition. You're absolutely right. There was no actual competition that really should have made the ratings as low as they were this week. So
yeah,
that's
definitely.
that's a very good point.
Thank you. The thing that I will mention next as well. So CM Punk cut a promo in ring, and he made mention, and this is one thing that I have to talk about. He actually made mention of the very public story of Jon Moxley entering inpatient rehab, which obviously all the best to John. It's very difficult to seek help. If you are abusing alcohol or any sort of a drug, and yes, alcohol is a drug. If you are abusing those things, do not be too prideful to reach out for help. I respect the hell out of it, just as CM Punk said in this promo. So Moxley is doing, he's doing great things by seeking help. And I think that once he comes back, that we probably will see a better Jon Moxley than we've seen. But here you had CM Punk cutting a promo, and he mentions Eddie Kingston, who, as we had mentioned last week, interrupted CM Punk on Rampage. And so they're obviously building up to some things here, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But yeah, there was I guess the storyline was that Eddie Kingston wasn't there in the arena, and but he will be in St. Louis to accept the apology from Eddie Kingston. So again, we'll talk about that here in just a moment. And as a result of Jon Moxley being out of the arena, his spot in the world title eliminator tournament had to be filled. So CM Punk actually mentioned that it could have been CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson, but you aren't going to get that because of Eddie Kingston, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it really does kind of bring things together and add a layer of cohesion, which is not commonplace. So it's definitely appreciated. And instead, we find out that it's going to be Miro who is going to be taking Jon Moxley's place against Orange Cassidy in the tournament. And Miro, his string of vignettes lately they've been awesome. First he was saying how he was God's favorite champion when he had the TNT title. He loses the TNT title, and now he's angry and he's frustrated, and he's vocalizing his anger towards God and things of that nature. And it's pretty deep stuff, with his promos, and you just buy in. And Miro is doing a great job on the mic, without a doubt, doing a great job on the mic with these things. Elsewhere, you had FTR defending the AAA tag team titles against Aerostar and Samurai del Sol, the former Kalisto. I don't know if you might remember him, Michaels. He was a part of your favorite faction in WWE.
The guys who rode in on the lawnmowers. Right? No. Super crazy.
Close enough.
Okay.
Close enough. But yeah, dude, no surprise here. FTR pick up the win in about 9 minutes. Aerostar got banged up pretty badly early in the match. So yeah, unfortunately that kind of suffered a bit. And I have to get your feedback on this, Michaels. What do you think of FTR's theme music, which is a remixed version of the old Midnight Express theme?
Here's the thing. I think the FTR has a tag team in NXT. They shined, and I think since then, personally, no matter what they've tried, they don't have it. They don't have it. And if they keep talking like they're talking, it seems like they're two guys who think that they deserve so much more than they're actually worth. And it just plays that way when they, take little digs and say this and that, take digs at their own fucking company. And it's just like, well, you guys wanted out of WWE. You got released. You so badly want to go here. And now you think you're getting screwed over here. So what do you want to get out of these contracts to go to Impact? I mean, you don't have many more choices, guys. So I don't know. Take the AAA titles, go to AAA and go to Mexico and, become the Midnight FTR Express, whatever. I don't know, man. It really is just at the point where, are they still part of the MJF crew? Are they? Okay.
The thing is, they've tried to explain that as, Andrade paying MJF 2 envelopes of cash for them to be his hired guns, I guess. So I guess, whatever. Elsewhere, we had the promo segment with American Top Team and the Inner Circle. So we found out that we're going to be getting the Inner Circle versus the Men of the Year, but also we're getting Junior Dos Santos, Andre Arlovsky, and yes, the fat-faced dipshit himself, Dan Lambert. And evidently they did this for one reason and one reason only, just so that they can get those pay-per-view buys, just so that you can see Chris Jericho give Dan Lambert the Judas effect and punch him in the face after the fact. I don't know.
And you had Paige Van Zant on stage saying that she would kick any of those guys' asses. You know what? I'd rather see that. Get the fucking fire this motherfucker. It's not even heat. It's just that he's just there's no reason that he should be, and there's no reason they should be using these fucking UFC guys just to fucking walk out there. It just, you've got so many, you just hired all these fucking guys from the Federation and you still have to have UFC, 20 guys of fucking UFC on your, I don't know, man. I think Tony Khan doesn't know what he's fucking handing money out to sometimes.
And to subtly correct you, I believe the Paige Van Zant line was that she would take on all 5 members of the Inner Circle herself.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know.
Jericho gave the perfect resulting line to that, saying that she could definitely sell that on her OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly.
So elsewhere, Anna Jay versus Jamie Hayter happened in the TBS tournament. I guess that was 7 minutes and not exactly the cleanest match in the world. Jamie Hayter advances in the tournament.
Anna Jay's got fucking. This is why they need a development fucking center.
Dude, okay, so here's the thing: is Anna Jay, she was doing all right, and she was progressing week after week in the ring, and then she got injured, and she fought back. She came back, and she battled back from her injury, but and I was listening to some audio from one of the other content creators out there, and they brought up a really good point in that it almost looked like as if Anna Jay looked a bit apprehensive at times in this match. So she was almost afraid of doing certain things at certain times, so as to not re-injure herself. And that really sucks because that it's mental and that she's, thinking twice about certain spots. So hopefully whoever produced that match was able to talk to her afterwards and, just kind of reassure her that, hey, what happened previously was a fluke incident, that it won't happen again, things of that nature, or, that same set of circumstances won't happen again. And it's tough because she was doing so well and progressing extremely well, and she just looked lost at certain points in this match, and it really sucks. It really sucks to see her somewhat regress.
I think one of the I think one of the solid points that I heard this week is simply this. The reason AEW is having some problems, especially in those kind of cases, they don't have house shows.
Bingo.
And and they don't have a development place essentially outside of Nightmare Factory. So you're not getting the reps in. And for these younger talents they're basically not allowing them to grow because all they're doing is putting them in front of cameras. And by doing so, you are basically putting all the pressure on these guys to deliver, because if they fuck up, first of all, the crowd's going to chant it, wonderful fans. And number two, everyone's going to see it.
Exactly.
So, they had house shows, then she could have gone on a run of, 6 weeks of house shows before she came back. So
exactly. Yeah. And I think that that's something that we mentioned early on, in that, they would benefit from aligning with other promotions, because they would allow their talent to get more reps in other settings. Lo and behold, that did happen to where they were doing, interpromotional things, but it wasn't used for anything even remotely close to that. It was the Kenny Omega show. And right. I think that that's the really troubling part to all of this, is that they had a golden opportunity to essentially have, you could have had something set up even with Ring of Honor. I know that there's bad blood there, but they could have easily, sent some of their roster to ROH, and they could have easily had them perform, in some of their TV tapings, which, take it for what it is. They're not going to be on TV in a widespread format, and they're not going to have the fans there to second guess them and to chant "you fucked up" when they fucked up. Yeah. So I think that they had a giant opportunity and they just totally missed the boat, unfortunately, on that.
Yeah.
So elsewhere, we had Andrade El Idolo taking on that young upstart Cody Rhodes, and lo and behold, holy shit, Andrade picked up the win in about 12 minutes over Cody. I'm not going to lie. I was shocked as shit that it happened. I thought for sure that they would have Cody go over, triumphant baby face, even though no one in the building is fucking cheering him.
Yeah.
But c'est la vie. It is what it is. You had FTR pop out from underneath of the ring. Again, at least they are tying these storylines together in some way, shape, or form. They did have, FTR hit Cody with their AAA tag titles. They threw him into the ring. Andrade hit his finisher, go home, and it accomplished what they needed to do. So very, very key win. And quite frankly, Andrade has not gotten too many wins under the AEW banner. So every win that he gets is a big win. This was a big win for Andrade, without question.
Am I correct if I remember? Didn't Lucha Bros came out then, right?
Yeah.
So even though he got the win, they're setting up a fucking 3-man tag in which FTR and Andrade are going to get the loss to Cody and the Lucha Bros, who need it.
Of course, because as we know, Cody needs to get his fucking win back.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the main event of Dynamite, we had Orange Cassidy against Miro in the World Title Eliminator Tournament, and this was the fucking Miro show, bro. Outside of a flurry of offense early on, you had Miro just putting it to him, and Miro looked strong, and he tapped Orange Cassidy out. So now your finals at Full Gear for the #1 contendership for that world championship will be Miro versus Bryan Danielson. Sign me the fuck up for that shit.
Here's the problem, though, and this is why I don't like it, and that is simply because of this. I don't think they have a balls to pull a trigger on a Kenny Omega Miro match.
They're not going to.
No. So why the fuck do I care?
They're not going to do that because Kenny Omega is not going to retain the championship at Full Gear. Hangman will win the title at Full Gear finally.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's what needs to happen. You need to have Hangman pick up the win at Full Gear over Omega. You just have to at this point. He definitely has the crowd behind him like he has not had before. Not that they were ever, not that was ever a question, but dude, this guy, just the mere mention and like the drop at the start of his theme and the crowd pops. They've done some good things with Page. They need to pull the trigger at Full Gear with him. If they don't, then they will forever damage Hangman Adam Page. Period.
Right. And my problem is that, so if you have Miro winning this match, then Miro is going against Page, which totally fucks Miro. I'd be more interested in seeing Miro going against Omega, but Omega, you're not going to have a heel match. And why should Omega win that match? So you just built up Miro as this monster. And in both scenarios, he loses, essentially. Plus, now you're going to have potentially Miro beating Bryan Danielson.
That's not going to happen.
Well, but see, that's the whole thing. So then if Danielson wins, so now Danielson's going against Hangman, they fuck themselves in a corner. You should just I don't know. That's this whole thing is this whole like tournament and blah, blah. Why are you fucking doing that? You have records that you're supposed to be putting the emphasis on. Why are you going this route to come up with your number one contenders? This is the shit that makes no sense with them. And thank you, TK, for being such a genius. And if only Ted Turner was a better booker, he would have still been in business today and you wouldn't have a television show. So God damn you, Ted Turner. Why didn't you fucking pay more attention to your booking?
Oh man. And on that note, let's jump into AEW Rampage. And the show kicked off with Anthony Bowens versus Bryan Danielson. But this was a good match. But the highlight of this match happened before the bell rang when Max Caster came out and I quote, "The Acclaimed, we only do numbers, but this guy is too busy growing cucumbers. Don't be mad at me, bro, because you only known for your wife's reality show. And you should eat some eggs. Look at Bowen's arms. They're bigger than your legs. I'm going to put you into poverty, dog, because I end careers quicker than your father-in-law." Yes, that was a John Laurinaitis dig by Max Caster to Bryan Danielson. Yeah. There was also a Brie Bella dig in there, knocking on him being a vegan. Max Caster's a savage. I mean, that's all that can be said.
Max Caster has one talent, and that is just going out there saying some shit and then never having to wrestle. So good for him.
Pretty much. That
John, by the way, that John Cena ripoff is really just fucking hitting the fucking chorus.
Nonetheless, man, Anthony Bowens, I'm not trying to diminish anything that was done in this match. Solid opener. And Bowens he's had a string of great matches where everybody always they always spotlight Max Caster because he says outlandish things. He does, crazy things on the mic that sometimes get him into trouble, but Anthony Bowens can bring it in the ring. And, this was a 9-minute match. Probably the best match that I've seen out of him. I wonder if it's a strange coincidence that it just so happened to be that he was mixing it up with Bryan fucking Danielson. Don't know. Call it what it is. But yeah, very solid match. Highlight of the show was next, though. CM Punk and Eddie Kingston meet face to face. Dude, this promo segment was absolutely great. in terms of the visuals, where you had the two guys in opposite corners as they started off the promo, and as the tension was built, the volume picked up and things got a little bit more personal. They moved in closer and closer together. So that again provided for a better visual. And I definitely got the vibes that, you know, when Eddie Kingston was talking about things that happened in Ring of Honor 15 years ago, saying that Punk, Samoa Joe, Homicide, Amazing Red were guys that inspired him and were his heroes. And then he called Punk a narcissistic bitch who judged him, to which Punk point blank said that it wasn't just him that was judging him. It was all of those guys as well. So yeah, these guys, man, on the mic, Kingston is fire. On the mic, Punk is fire. Occasionally, when you take two guys that are great on the mic and you put them against each other, it should be fire. Occasionally it's not, but this time it was as advertised, exactly what you would expect to get. And quite frankly, this was the highlight of this show for me.
It's going to be the highlight of their feud, by the way, because unfortunately, there is some truth to the fact that, let's face it, Eddie Kingston has really come into his own as a person on the mic. He's really good. But Eddie Kingston, there's a reason that it's taken him so long to at least get to a stage where there's more eyes. And that's because he is not one of the better wrestlers. You know, he can brawl. He's a very good brawler. But I don't know what Punk's, you know, that's the other thing too, is that, you know, personally, this so far it's just been CM Punk show. And so you know that Punk's going to be Kingston. And what is he?
That's the worst part about it.
Difference between Bryan Danielson and CM Punk is this. You just said it. Bryan made him look like $100, $100, $1,000,000. Eddie's going to get in the ring with Punk, and you know, he'll get some spots in, but Punk's going to make himself look good. He is a narcissistic prick, but that's what you get when you want to see this guy, because that's the only reason Punk ever got over. He got over because his ego was all about how good he was. So what do you think you're going to do? You're going to fucking, you know, you're going to make guys look good? Punk doesn't make guys look good. I'm sorry. And I just probably pissed off a whole fucking generation of fans. But you know what? There's some truth to it. Go back and watch his shit. And Punk isn't making guys look good. Punk is getting himself over on guys.
Wow. The views expressed on the Vegas Badboyz podcast are I'll let you have that one, Matt Michaels. I will have nothing to do with that quote and that little diatribe. Yeah, I don't necessarily see eye to eye with that, but you know, as far as what we're going to see at Full Gear, I think that we will see Punk pick up the win, of course, but I think that we will see Eddie Kingston elevated, and I think that we will see a very strong showing for him. Realistically, I could see a fluke win for Punk, or, you know, something, a quick pinfall or anything of that nature. I don't think that it'll be decisive. I don't think that it'll be, you know, a statement victory, if you will. I think it'll be a lot closer if in terms of offense than what you or a fair amount of the audience may feel. Elsewhere, this TBS championship tournament rolls on. We had the Bunny versus Red Velvet, and Red Velvet wins in 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Of course, Red Velvet picks up the win in this match because Jade Cargill is waiting in the next round. And I don't think that Jade Cargill has worked against any other females in this company other than Red Velvet. I mean, she's beaten her, what, 20 times? Yeah, whatever.
And that, honestly, what's interesting about that is every time those two meet, it is a potentially dangerous situation because they are both greener than goose shit. And let's just hope no one gets hurt. Let's just get the pin, that looks like they'll probably put Jade into the finals, and they'll probably, dude, if Ruby Soho loses and she gets fired from WWE and then can't even get the title here, then they're out of their fucking minds. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, so my thing is, I personally, I think that they give the title to Thunder Rosa. That's just me, though.
Yeah, you would think, but at the same time, like, the problem is this: what you've essentially now done too is by creating this second belt, now you've basically taken emphasis off of your main belt. So you're basically trying to make this like an IC belt, right? For women. So why does Thunder Rosa need that belt when she's been challenging for the main belt? And Ruby Soho is the new girl in town who you've already fucked over wrestling the big dog in your company in Brit. So, yeah. I mean, and let's also throw in the wild card scenario. If they put the belt on Jade.
Well, we know what Jade is going to do. She will
sell it, because that's the only thing she does is sell merchandise.
Well, that too, but she's already said that she will change the name of whatever show she's on to That Bitch Show, TBS. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to play into it and just give her the title anyway so that she can use that as a catchphrase. I mean, all right, I guess, but I don't know. Your first inaugural champion, you've got to go with somebody who is more established in the ring, in my opinion. I could be wrong, and I usually am. So, nonetheless,
and it's Soho versus it's going to be Soho versus Rosa on the one end, and Jade versus Red Velvet on the other end, right?
Yeah.
Which is just fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That's why I say I don't put it past it that they put the belt on Jade, because you take your fucking marquee match that you would want to see personally for your main women's title in Thunder Rosa versus Ruby.
No shit.
And you make it a fucking throwaway, semifinal tournament match. Come on. Stop doing these dumb tournaments. Stop it. All wrestling companies. Stop the tournaments. They're fucking horrible. We've seen how bad it's been. Now, the WWE just did it with their fucking Queen of the Ring, and it fucking sucked. We're seeing what they're doing with this TBS title thing. Just stop it. Stop these tournaments.
Really quick, Chris in the chat says, Michaels says that now, but in 90 days, Nia Jax will be in AEW, and Michaels will look back and realize maybe it wasn't that bad.
Hey man, I'm investing all my money in either a Nyla versus Nia match, which,
oh god, could you imagine JR on the call for that?
No. That'd be the best. That'd actually be the most entertaining. In fact, if you guys just take that and put it on Patreon, just want to make a few extra bucks, just charge people to hear JR call that match, and just him. It would be fabulous. In fact, have him call it from an open bar. That would be amazing. Or they put those two together and make them the career wreckers. Call the team the career wreckers, and it would be beautiful. I would take that in a second.
So, and last but not least on this show, Adam Cole versus John Silver. Okay, so here's something I have got to get out here, and it is a criticism that I have of AEW. Okay. They have been doing the skits with Adam Cole and the Dark Order ever since Adam Cole came into the company on BTE. And there obviously, yes, you know, it pops the viewers for BTE whenever things kind of have the interplay of and essentially what's been going on is John Silver and Alex Reynolds have been harassing Adam Cole backstage, and Adam Cole's been, you know, giving them shit back as well. But Silver has, you know, brought up the fact that Adam Cole should cut his hair and that he should manage them and that they should change his name to Budge, which is short for budget cut. And so, yes, they've started this whole Budge thing. And I get it. Yes, it makes me laugh. But as far as continuity, if you are just somebody flipping through the channels and you aren't familiar with BTE, you'd see this shit going on. It's a giant inside joke and you ain't in on it. So I think that type of shit needs to either A, stop, or B, they need to show clips from BTE, which they're not able to do because the show's fucking packed anyway. So they can't squeeze any more content into the time that they have. So just as funny as the stuff might be to a certain number of the audience, stop it, please. Because this type of shit will drive viewers away rather than bringing them in. Please.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, solid match. Adam Cole, John Silver, both of these guys brought it. And, you know, we made light of it earlier with John Silver being, you know, short of stature. But the dude definitely has a unique look. I think that one of the things that they have to be very careful with is that they don't pigeonhole him and, you know, typecast him as, you know, oh, look, it's the short guy. Yeah, he's going to just job all the time. So I think that this match did a good job of allowing him to get a lot of offense in. And he really did come off in a lot of ways, in my view, as almost like a strong man from the circus. You know, yes, there's a bit of a draw to him. He does have a large amount of charisma and a very unique look. And he was throwing Cole around the ring. Now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, Cole is, you know, sub 200 pounds, but still the visuals played in. And the visuals were those that it really did sell you on Silver having credibility. And so hats off to them for that. And as I said, my only criticism with this whole thing was just stop with the inside jokes unless you're going to let the casual viewers in on the inside jokes, because it's just going to drive people away in the long run.
Don't worry, no one's watching Rampage anymore anyway. So,
oh Jesus,
that's true. It's actually, it is frighteningly true because it was somewhere around 500,000, if that.
Yeah. It was I think I saw like 510 somewhere in there. Yeah. So now, mind you, they did doom themselves 10 p.m. time slot on a Friday, but nonetheless, now, according to Warner Media, if you believe what the execs are saying in Warner Media, the AEW brand, both properties, whether it's Dynamite or Rampage, are both exceeding the expectations. I did read that on the internet, and obviously it's on the internet, so it has to be 100% factual. But if they're doing better than what the network was expecting, then kudos to them. But yeah, you are walking a very fine line for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's finish up here with a little bit of local news in the Vegas scene. The BVW Big Valley Wrestling ran 2 days at the Taco Fest in North Vegas. Taco Fest drew a lot of people, so hopefully Big Valley Wrestling got a nice share of eyes on them, and you know, we're able to get some interest in some of the local wrestlers, a lot of which wrestled for not only BVW, FSW, but also Versus, and have been going out other places, including up in North California, where Nick Sander made it through his first two matches successfully to make the the finals of the Young Lions Cup. And that match was a fatal four-way elimination match. And Nick came up a little bit short, but the winner of the Young Lions Cup is FSW's adopted son, Juicy Finau. So Juicy
Awesome.
took that home. It was a really solid final match. Kudos to all these guys, because this whole thing is done in one fucking night. And so you talk about tournaments. This is the only thing you could justify a tournament for, is something that is totally unrelated to titles and contenderships and shit like that. And this has been going on for I think like 7 years or so now, I think. So it has a little history now, and definitely a good thing. FSW had High Octane that same night, and it was good to see Bodie. He is now 5-0 at 14 years old, and is growing leaps and bounds every time he wrestles. So it's nice to see that they're getting a chance to acclimate him to some of the more mature matches, and some of the guys who are a little more seasoned, even if the guys are younger guys. Graves had a great match on the card too. Really, really solid match. But the big thing is getting some set up for No Escape, which is a cage match heavy show. It's going to be held Saturday, November 27th at Diversion Amusements, and also available on Fight TV pay-per-view. We're going to have Remy Marcel, who came out and issued a challenge for Class for the Nevada State title. Technically, Remy didn't lose to Class in a match. Class cashed in the case after Remy was already taken out. So these two are going to be in a cage, which should be great. Jay Vidal, who's having a tremendous year, won a spot in the No Limits #1 contenders match, cage match at No Escape. There will be a couple other people competing in that match, and I don't think any other spots have been named yet. Joe, at the beginning of the show, made a big announcement when he was interrupted by Lights, Camera, Factions, Action Braxton, and Ice Williams, who complained that at the Halloween show, Chris Bay came out with a baseball bat and attacked Ice's car. Joe announced that Chris Bay will be facing Ice Williams for the No Limits Championship in the cage. And the main event was Matt Vandegrift and Damian Drake going at it. As soon as the bell rang, those two crazy motherfuckers just started beating the fuck out of each other, to the point where the referee had to basically stop the match because the ref got hit, and then another ref got hit, and then everyone got hit, and it just went crazy into breakdown chaos, to the point where they had to remove Vandegrift from the facility, only to forget that the backstage area is the back alleyway, in which once you take a person out, all they have to do is go to the back of the building and come back in, as Matt did to attack Damien again. But Damien threw it out in the gauntlet at No Way Out, or No Escape, No Way Out, No Escape. Same similarities there. We will be seeing those two in a cage match, in a weapons cage match.
Hell yeah.
Which could be very, very, very brutal and very just, it could be match of the year. Also a reminder, if you're in Vegas, Saturday the 19th, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling company comes here to the MGM Grand, and Impact Wrestling returns to Vegas the Saturday the 20th through Monday the 22nd. They'll have their on the 20th the internet only, or subscription only, quote unquote pay-per-view. That's not really a pay-per-view, it's for subscribers, on the 20th, and then TV tapings on the 21st and 22nd. And finally, again, a healthy recovery for John Moxley, and a goodbye to Vegas for him and Renee. Renee boarded the bus just the other night, and they're off to Ohio. So that is it for them, and having to be here in the summer heat. And hopefully everything goes well with John, and they're able to raise their firstborn in Ohio around some family, and all the best to them. On that note, everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you're with us here, we'll be right back with 3 Count. Otherwise, listen to us on Tuesday when we release 3 Count. And the 3 Count was going to be specific to all the layoffs that just happened. And that's what we're going to be tackling. All 3 counts are going to be, related to the firings. So until next time, everyone, take care